Surgical Steel by Carcass. While some people may complain for this album being so low on the list, keep in mind this is still the top 6 best, so that doesn't mean that it's bad by any means. Carcass's Surgical Steel is the first album that this band has made in 17 years, and it's one hell of a comeback. Even if you may have never heard of Carcass, just one look at the sleek, badass album cover should give you an idea of what you're in for. If you're a fan of Necrophagist or any sort of band that goes over the top with riffs and just likes to get in your face and show you some extreme brutality, as well as showcasing extreme musicianship and talent, then Carcass is a band to check out. Fans from their olden days will be thrilled to see this new release, because it's the first activity that the band has had and almost longer than I've been alive. In fact, it is longer than I've been alive since they've made something new. So for me, this was my introduction to Carcass, and it was a hell of an introduction at that. The album has some gruesome lyrics, as you would expect, and has some extremely complicated and intense riffs. This is definitely one that you should play at full volume on the headset, because it sounds amazing. There's not much that, is going on here that you're going to expect, because the album throws constant twists and turns at you and keeps it going harder and faster with every song. It'll just wipe the floor with your face. Even the last track is very unexpected in how it handles itself, as Cover Killer Nation's did. The last track on an album can either be, blow out everything you got, or a sort of experimentation sort of way. Something that, the band just wants to give it a try and see what happens. Carcass did that with the last track on this album, and it works awesomely. The first track on the album is a great way to get into the album with some awesome guitar playing, just to let you know exactly what you're in for. But after that, it's a descent into utter madness and gory brutality. One that will not leave you disappointed. If you like hard-hitting metal right in the face to just plow you out of your seat, then give this album a try, because it's nothing short of stunning. Blood Vaults, the blazing gospel of Heinrich Kramer, by the Ruins of Beverast. The Ruins of Beverast is considered by many to be black metal's best kept secret. Formed by ex-Nagelfar member Alexander von Meinwald in 2003, the Ruins of Beverast are a truly new direction for black metal. His previous release, Rain Upon the Impure, was considered by many to be a black metal masterpiece. His newest album, Blood Vaults, has somehow managed to surpass the genius that took place upon Impure. Blood Vaults takes everything that's excellent about metal and black metal and combines it into an absolute nightmare of a soundscape. It's a concept album that tells a very deep and disturbing story relating to demons, possession, and the death and hunting of the individuals thereof. Alexander manages to take the ferocity of black metal and combine it with the dread and powerful impact of doom metal, and throw in some progressive elements for good measure, in order to create a soundscape that feels not unlike hell. It's chaotic and intense, and dark and sludgy at times, but oftentimes it'll also be moving fast and try and tear your ears straight off. Blood Vaults was one of my most anticipated albums to come out this year, and I'm glad to say that I wasn't disappointed by it. The album art is very striking, and that's kind of what grabbed me to the new album when I found out it happened, because I was a fan of Rain Upon the Impure before I found out about this new album to be released, and when I saw it, I'm like, dude, this album's gonna rock. Look at this freaking album art. Because more often than not, a lot of bands that put time into their album art make badass albums. There are exceptions, however. It's difficult to accurately describe the feeling of this album, because it's one that you must listen to in the dark, with your eyes closed, headphones on all the way up. You had to let it envelop you, take you into its dark and unholy world, and experience the genius that Alexander has to offer you. It's intense, dark, beautiful, and nasty. And for some reason, Ruins is not very well known among the black metal community, as opposed to some bands like Mayhem, Burzum, Gorgoroth, etc. But I feel that they should, or rather he should, because this is a man with extreme talent and a lot to offer us, and he's proven that he didn't just throw everything into Rain Upon the Impure and that was it. He outdid himself with an absolutely disgustingly violent and gory masterpiece in Blood Vaults. Do check it out, because it's an experience. A black metal experience at that you won't soon forget. Any fan of black metal that says it's dead today, you need to listen to this. Liminal by Exivious. As complex as its cover art and promotional videos, Liminal is a beautiful album. Unlike the first two albums on this list, the album is an instrumental piece and isn't inherently dark and negative, evil feeling. In fact, this album almost feels upbeat. It uses creative riffs, a sort of jazz tone, and a fast pace to get the energy going and to create an awesome emotional feeling while listening to this album. While you're listening, you're going to feel great. It feels awesome to be in the moment, jamming out to the guitar solos that are happening. And oh boy, the guitar solos. I've not heard beautiful guitar work as I have on this album in many other places. It's creative and inventive, and beautiful and masterful. It'll take you to another world just to sit back and relax to this album. As with any good album, it just knows how to get within the deepest recesses of your mind and bring out some emotions, stir you, and create a very fanciful and intense experience when you're listening to this album. Everything hits just right. The guitar work is done brilliantly. I can't stress it enough. Everything in this album, the drums especially, they complement the fast pace, but the guitar work is where this album shines brilliantly, seeing as the guitar takes front and center in the place of where vocals would typically be, crafting songs and tales left to be interpreted by the listener in any way they desire. And it's a beautiful and artful masterpiece that this band has finally produced for us. Their previous efforts have been great, but now finally they've hit the nail on the head and given us an absolutely stunning album that, just like Ruins of Beverast, is not very well known, but ought to be, seeing as what we have here is an amazing prog metal experience that you need to indulge yourself in right now. The Ocean, Pelagial. Hailing from Germany, the Ocean Collective, or as they're better simply known, The Ocean, is a progressive metal band that brings something incredible and new to the table in their album, Pelagial. Being progressive and creative without veering too far into weirdness and insanity like so many progressive bands can do, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's awesome to see that it can also be done while still grounded. The Ocean has decided to make an album that fulfills their namesake. In Pelagial, the concept of the ocean and its infinite vastness and never-ending depths are discussed. Each track by track, is a scientific name of the different depths of the ocean as you go deeper and deeper. The album, just as well, follows as this depth increases, getting colder, more isolated, claustrophobic, darker, heavier. This album is a very intense experience and should be listened to, once again, in the dark, alone, with your eyes closed, allowing you to concentrate on the beauty the music created. There are vocals with this one, but there also is a separate instrumental CD for those of you who may not like the vocals, or prefer the instrumentation more, or just want to hear that alone, because both in this album are absolutely fantastic. The clean vocals, some people are mixed on, but myself, I very much enjoy them, and the screaming is done excellently. The lyrics pose an interesting question, as in, how much control do we have over what we wish for? And in this ocean that the band has created within this album using sound samples in addition to their music, we're asked to ponder the nature of humanity, our nature, what we desire, what we wish for, what things that we truly and utmost want, and why. Then what are we worth? What am I worth? In this vast emptiness of the ocean, where anything is possible, what is truth? What is worth? These questions and many more are addressed and discussed in this album in a very deep and intense style. I can't recommend this one enough, as it's incredible the way it's done. As you experience each track and each sound clip and sample revolving around something, you truly feel the pressure and depth that the ocean, the band, is applying to you in order to feel like you are submerged in the depths of the true oceans themselves. It's a very strange sensory experience that needs to be undertaken, because this album is something you need to sit and hear all in one sitting to truly comprehend it, as the tracks seamlessly flow one into another. Beautiful guitar work, beautiful lyrics, and in my opinion the vocals are awesome. The drums complement it perfectly, bass is awesome. Overall, it's a very excellently produced, intense masterpiece. You definitely need to check this one out. Haken, the Mountain. Ever wonder what Dream Theater would sound like if it ran and crossed paths with Tool? Then Haken is the band for you. An extremely progressive band, using complex techniques in all of their music, as well as experimenting and going a little out there, as you do with any progressive music. Haken has created an absolute masterpiece with The Mountain. It's a very personal album with lyrics that may not be apparent in their meaning at first, but upon further listenings, you'll find that the lyrical content of this album, just like Pelagial, is very personal, and it allows for an inner dialogue and thought consideration whilst you listen to the music and consider what the lyrics and musicianship means to you. There's a lot here for you to consider, which is cool, because that means that it's got plenty of replay value. On an album this densely layered, and thick, and beautifully produced, it's impossible to just take it all in one dose and expect to fully appreciate it. After you listen to this album fully through once, you're going to want to go back and do it again, primarily just because it takes you to another world, a dreamscape of sorts, where the chaotic and the sublime meet in a perfect line and allow for beauty to shine through. The course of the mountain follows a real physical mountain, beginning with the path. Of course, you have to consider taking that first step upon the path in order to experience the rest of the mountain. That's just the case here. On this album, the tracks will slowly build to be more and more intense until you hit the 11-minute masterpiece, which just may be one of my favorite songs of 2013, Falling Back to Earth. Oh my god. I cannot fully describe just how epic this song is, and how I almost had an out-of-body experience whilst listening to it. It is intense, beautiful, and atmospheric, and it's certainly the highlight of this album. It feels that this is the point where you have reached the top of the mountain, the highest mountain in the world, the You've conquered all of the problems that you've ever faced. And then something pushes you and you fall off the other edge. And all the problems that previously had become less and less are now becoming more and more as you fall through the depths of the sky, as you fall through its infinity, watching your problems rise above you until you hit the bottom, until you feel broken, seemingly without any hope, wishing you could have your life back the way it was. And of course it's possible, only if you decide to consider and walk upon the path again that is once before you. So too is it the case with every problem that we may face in our life and everything we deal with in our life. This album deals with some of the most quintessential and varied subconscious feelings and thoughts and emotions that we experience throughout our lives and throughout every day. It's beautifully written and pairs perfectly with anyone's ears in their subconscious. It speaks to you, and while it may not be as personal a level as it was to me as to you, still, the lyrics and the incredible progressive work in the music are something you absolutely need to hear. If you feel like Dream Theater ain't doing it for you anymore, then this is the band you need to check out. They're new in this genre, but they're going to become juggernauts pretty soon. You heard it here. If you don't know about these guys and you don't choose to listen to them after this video, don't say that I didn't warn you when they become the next Dream Theater, cranking out incredible AAA releases very soon. Give Haken a listen, because they're probably the best thing I've heard all year, if it weren't for the #1 spot on our list. can't tell already, number 1 is Ayreon's new release, The Theory of Everything. And oh my god, I know I talked up everything else that was on this list, and while those things are absolutely incredible musical masterpieces, this album right here is beyond a masterpiece. I can't even begin to count how many times I've listened to it. If you don't know who he is already, Ayreon Anthony Lucassen is an incredibly talented multi-instrumentalist, producer, and vocalist who develops rock operas under the alias of Ayreon, featuring guest musicians to perform his incredibly written material. As you can see, his guest musicians are some extremely big names. The Theory of Everything is his latest release, and I definitely would put it up there as his best among Into the Electric Castle and The Human Equation. Ayreon is a very, very hard band to exactly describe, seeing as it's not technically a band, but more than one man who writes incredible music and has people with incredible talent perform it with him to produce something that sounds unlike anything you've ever heard before. It's a musical supergroup. When attempting to describe Ayreon to someone, the best thing I try and come up with to tell them is that it sounds like if Pink Floyd did metal and then smashed into Jethro Tull along the way. It's extremely, extremely hard to describe everything that goes on in Ayreon's music. It is extremely well written and incredibly performed, and there is literally so much going on at any given time. Some of the instruments that appear in some of his albums I've never even heard of. And he puts this all together masterfully and beautifully. The production is top-notch. The layering is beautiful. You can hear each and every single one of the instruments taking place performing on this album. They work together to perform a sound, a symphony, a melody unlike anything you have ever heard. It's truly the next form of music. Each instrument that sounds ridiculous to include in a metal rock opera, you'd tell someone, oh, I want to include, mandolin or strings or flute or, Hammond, whatever the hell, you tell them I want to put this into a rock opera. Some people look at you like, you crazy? There's some ridiculous instruments on here, and they're amazing. They float together to create a sound that just, it hits you just right, hits your ears just right. There's nothing that when you hear it, you go, And it's not really a taste thing, where you gotta develop a taste for it. When you listen to Ayreon, it grabs you right away. I mean, there is no easing in. It grabs you and you're like, oh my god, this is the best thing I've ever heard. Anyone who has not checked out Ayreon or Ayreon Anthony Lucassen in any of his works definitely needs to, because not only is this the best album of 2013, it's probably one of the best albums ever, only rivaled by Lucassen's other work and works of classic artists from the 70s and 80s. But I would say, when it comes to the 21st century, as it were, this album is only rivaled by The Human Equation, another Ayreon work from 2004, of being the best album released this century thus far. I know we're only 13 years in, but these 13 years have seen a lot of change in music, and a lot of new artists sprout up. And Ayreon, who's been around since the 90s and even prior to that, has proven that time has not degraded his skills in any way, shape, or form. And in fact, as more time passes, the man becomes more and more talented and continues to impress myself and the entire metal community more and more with each passing note that he writes and has performed and performs with other extremely talented individuals. His albums are star-studded and are completely beautiful and incredible, intelligent, amazing, beyond stupendous, spectacular masterpieces. The Human Equation is the embodiment and epitome of his skill and talent, as well as those of the musicians that appear alongside him on this album. You need to listen to this album right now. No, you don't need to just listen to it. You need to buy it. You need to get a hold of this man. You need to get on his store. You need to buy this album. it is that good that you need to buy. You need to go and get, you know, the deluxe edition if you can, you know, with all the nice extras like I got with the signed CD and the DVD, the t-shirt, and the poster. I'm not sure if that was a pre-order deal or what, but you know what, because I got it with pre-order. But you owe it to yourself to just go all out with this thing, because I can guarantee you that this will be one of the best albums you will ever hear. Take a look at it. You will absolutely love it. And if not, I'll offer you a time back guarantee, because, you know, I've mastered the elements of the universe. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Keep it rockin'. I'll see you soon.